In a world where most people watch movies and then forget about them, these brave heroes join forces to watch them again and then talk about them. Join them in their epic journey as they go back in time, a decade and beyond, to revisit and break down films from a vast array of genres. Do these movies hold up over time? Are they classics? Find out on Retro Movie Roundtable. Starring your hosts, Brian Fry, Chad Robinson, Destin Melbartis, Lizzie Haynes, and Russell Guest. Coming now to headphones in your ears.
Welcome all you lords, ladies, and knights of the Retro Movie Roundtable. Welcome to the show where we watch movies and then talk about them. I'm your host, Russell Guest, and joining me today, right next to me, right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Mr. Chad Robinson. How you doing, sir?
It has been like 2 years since we've done this in person.
It has. It's been
a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time since the pandemic, and I guess this marks that it's over. I guess so.
There you go.
There will be much rejoicing here in 2023. So,
Yeah.
and more rejoicing. Do you know why?
Why?
We're bringing on an old-time friend and first-time guest, so new to the show, Mr. Alex Padon from Charleston, West Virginia. How you doing, sir?
Good. Yourself?
Awesome. Now, let's get weird today. What do you say?
I'm down.
All right. So, Alex, in the theme of today's movie, what is your favorite Weird Al song and video? And they may or may not be one and the same.
That's so hard to say. And, you know, I've thought about this considerably, but I'm going to have to go back to Fat. Simply because that was my introduction to Weird Al. And I got the song first from a friend of mine growing up. Then we saw the video. It was so amazing because it was so spot on to Michael Jackson's Bad, which was amazing. And that seems to be, you know, the theme with Weird Al. It's so close to the original, but yet it's Weird Al. And that's what makes Weird Al, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, but it's hard to say. I mean, there's just so many, and they're all just so good. But I'm definitely going with Fat.
All right. Large and in charge. Chad, what about you? How are you? Big task here.
I know. When I was little, I had all the cassettes, and the club was called A Close Personal Friend of Al. So I have that to my name. I am a close personal friend of Al, according to the man himself. But I'm going with a newer edition. I like White and Nerdy.
It's a good one.
Is that
think
new? I mean, we're getting up there. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're all closing on 40 here. Is White and Nerdy really new?
It's true.
For him, I feel like it's newer. He hasn't released much since.
I'm going to look that up.
Since like 2018, and 2018 was just a compilation. But yeah, Donny Osmond in the background just dancing like a dork. I still use Whiter Than Sour Cream. Everything about that, I love it.
2006.
Yeah. My daughter listened to Simi Charm Kind of Life. I was like, oh, you like this song? And then I started thinking, I was like, that song is 26 years old.
Oh,
yes. Yeah, it is. And mine's going to be back in that era as well. I'm between your guys' era and this one. I'm going to go with I Remember Larry. It's not a single. It's just
it's an original too.
It's a Weird Al original, but I really love I love it when Weird Al was pranked by his annoying acquaintance of Larry, yes. And then
it was a really good gag.
It doesn't really go well for Larry in the end, so I won't spoil the song, but it's a great listen off the Bad Hair Day album. So my favorite video though is Smells Like Nirvana. So
the song that revitalized his career. Yeah,
it just was so good. What's the last movie you saw, Alex?
Well, the last actual movie I saw was UHF because I own a copy, and you know I watched it to read up for this. But before that, the last movie I watched at home was PCU because I finally pulled the trigger and paid way too much for that DVD than what I should have. And the last movie I saw in the theaters was Top Gun Maverick.
Excellent.
Yes, that continues to be like that. That just seems to be the ongoing answer for everybody's last movie is Top Gun Maverick. So
I should have seen Avatar by now, but I've been busy.
That's right. But you need to clear out your schedule because it's a time commitment.
3+ hours, yes.
Yeah. So
commitment. So have you guys seen?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
No. Chad, what was the last movie you saw?
In honor of our movie today, I watched the most accurate biography of all time, Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
Nice.
So that is on Roku. It's free. Check it out. Very, very true.
I've been meaning to watch that as well.
It is fantastic.
Excellent.
And then the last movie I watched, which was Gravity, which it's a good movie, man. I didn't see it when it first came out, so.
That's Sandra Bullock,
George Clooney?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I guess it got pressed for being not realistic enough for Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I mean, it was fun enough for me to have fun with, so I had a great time with it. So
That guy just hates fun.
So today, what are we going to be covering here, Chad?
We are going to do 1989's UHF.
All right. Now, UHF comes out in 1989, as you pointed out. It has a budget of only $5 million. It grosses. It is profitable. It is considered a failure, but it is profitable as $6.1 million domestically. Orion Pictures went bankrupt before this film was actually released, though, so they had no publicity, no budget to push this movie, so it underperformed at the box office. It went up against some pretty mean ones, too, that year. It had Indiana Jones, Last Crusade, Ghostbusters 2, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Lethal Weapon 2, License to Kill, When Harry Met Sally, Do the Right Thing, Weekend at Bernie's, Batman. I mean, just like, it is a good year for movies. It is a good summer for movies, and UHF was buried. So this is a lowly 105 in the box office. It comes in just behind Music Box and ahead of Shirley Valentine. The number one movie from 89, as mentioned, was Batman from 1989. IMDb not kind to UHF. It gives it a 6.9. The critics of Rotten Tomatoes give it a 61%. This doesn't feel right. The audience comes to its aid a little bit at 77%. No awards to show for it. And Ebert called Yankovic's lack of screen presence a dissipated vacuum, center of many scenes, 1 star. So, Ebert, not hot for this.
He liked it more than Siskel, though.
That's true. Siskel said, never has a comedy tried so hard and then failed so often to be funny. 0 stars, which I don't even consider. Like, when you're filling out things on other websites, half a star is usually the minimum. So Siskel bottomed out beyond the bottom.
I mean, he set that bar in 1989, but Bucky Larson comes out like, that has to be the 0 star floor. Nothing could be worse.
I don't know. Yeah. I like how Leonard Maltin, if it's bad enough, just says bomb.
Yes.
Like so. Alex, had you seen UHF before? What was your background with it? Where did you first see it?
I'm pretty sure I saw UHF. I did not obviously see it in the theaters. I was 5, and there were a bunch of other movies that made a whole lot more sense for my parents to take me to, in 1989. Again, I said a friend of mine who lived down the street introduced me to Weird Al, and Chad, I as well had a CD box of all Weird Al CDs. For years, I only listened to Weird Al. That was just my thing, and I finally got into other real music, but still, Al. Anyway, yes, I believe that my buddy and I were at Blockbuster one Friday evening. He was a couple years older than me, and he goes, "Oh, it's a Weird Al movie. It's finally out on VHS, or they finally have it on the shelf," or something along those lines. We got it. We rented it. We probably didn't understand half of it the first time we saw it, but it was absolutely hysterical. I would like to add, too, that when I watched it the other night, in preparation for this, my wife watched it for the first time. She did not understand a lot of the parody jokes. She laughed considerably at it, which I think is a even more thumbs up for it, because it was funny, this many years later to someone who doesn't quite understand all the parody lines. So
I think Weird Al's music is funny on its own, even if you don't know what it's parodying. And I think that's one of the things that makes Al really successful and last a long time. So it doesn't surprise me to hear you say that. Like, if you don't know what he's parodying, he's still funny.
Yeah.
I feel like stuff like My Bologna is that's a tougher sell if you don't know My Sharona.
It's still funny. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh Ricky, You're So Fine, like, the Lucy song. I mean,
I lost on Jeopardy, man.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, this stuff's just funny.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so many people, I feel a little bad for Coolio. Like, I've had people say, oh,
Amish Paradise.
He ripped off Amish Paradise. And I'm like, no, he ripped off Stevie Wonder.
Chad, how about you? What was your first time with UHF?
I think I saw it, oh geez, it's been over 20 years ago. And I'll be honest, seeing the intro, I don't have any recollection of the intro to this movie at all. So I think it was something that was playing on VHS or one of those that this film has a weird history where it was pulled due to Orion's rights, and you couldn't watch it for about a decade or so. It was 2001 that it was re-released on DVD. So, yeah, I don't think I appreciated it. Like, I was an Al fan. I saw the movie for Weird Al, but I don't think I had a lot of fun. I think I was kind of bored during the time, so I was nervous coming back to this one, but it's aged better than I thought.
Okay.
I enjoy it more now than I did then, definitely.
Wow, the story about a UHF TV station is aging well. So,
You know, there's a Halloween horror movie that's sort of like this, that does a bunch of parody comedy commercials, and it's styled in that cheesy 80s movie. So getting to revisit all those cheesy attorney commercials and car sales commercials, it's like, yeah, I'm into this now. I'm into this satire.
Alex, do you feel like it's aging well for you?
I watching it again the other night. It is, and I go back and watch, when I go back and watch movies, I always see if they hold the test of time. This one absolutely held the test of time. Now, maybe it's because I loved it so much then, and I still love it, but I just think there's so much in it that holds the test of time.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it was ninth grade. I saw the Weird Al Behind the Music special on Weird Al, and in it they covered UHF. And I was a Weird Al fan of the music, certainly by this time for sure. And I was not aware. I felt disserviced. Like, why has nobody told me about this?
Like we said earlier, it just got completely buried with an amazing amount of movies that came out. And I would like to say, I'd like to go back and correct myself. It's not Comedy Gold. It is officially Comedy Platinum, because Weird Al has gone platinum. I looked it up.
And I went out and got a copy of it, and I think it was from a rental store, and it was great. I know I had seen the cover actually beforehand. I felt extra bad. I was like, oh, I feel like I have walked by this before and been like, that's a movie, and like kept going by without going like, no, that is Weird Al in the cover. I don't know how I didn't notice this before. Like, I judged a book by its cover, and I felt bad, so I didn't look closely enough. And it was great. It holds up really well. I've come back to it off and on, and so I never had that like, oh, I put this down too long kind of thing. So I love it. So, have you seen him live, by the way, Alex?
I have, at the Clay Center. Yeah.
Yes, it is an experience, is it not?
It is. It's I hold it up there to something like the Blue Man Group.
Nice.
Yeah, Chad. I mean,
I do. I've seen a fair amount of concerts, nothing close to Russell, but I still think it's top. It might be the best concert I've ever been to, which sounds
high praise.
Sounds bad, but it's so much fun. Russell sets this at around the date we were friends, and I think this is funny because
you're gonna tell this.
Russell's whole thing, his whole bar of friendship is, do you like something that I do? We are now friends. I have a very different bar. And so he's like, oh yeah, we were friends. We went to the Weird Al concert. I was like, no, you were the random kid that said, hey, do you want to go to the Weird Al concert? Which was a huge blessing.
I asked you because we were friends, I didn't just go down the hallway being like, you want to go?
Friends? Is that how you guys became friends? You went to a Weird Al concert?
Well, Chad says yes. So this like, I mean, I think you even said, like, I went home and to my dinner, like dinner's like, hey, can I go to the Weird Al concert with Russ? And you're like, who is he? Is like, some kid at school. And right. I'm like, and I was more of the line, I was like, hey, which one of my friends likes Weird Al? I know Chad likes Weird Al, so I'm going to ask him. And he said, yeah, I'll go with you. Which, we were friends, so I knew you liked Weird Al because we were already friends in my book, so I hadn't crossed the gateway for threshold for friendship for Chad yet. So I'm really glad I invited you now because apparently I thought we were friends and we weren't. So
it takes a little more.
Yeah. So, apparently we're only acquaintances. So if you think you're friends with somebody but you're not sure, invite them to a concert. They'll have a great time. But the Weird Al concert it's not just a concert. Like, he does amazing costume work. There's videos while he's changing and stuff like that. It is a unique experience. It's just so much fun.
It's an experience. It's not just a concert. It's definitely an experience.
Absolutely.
And you'll get songs that you can't hear anywhere else. I still remember It was like My Delivery Will Go On. It was a parody of My Heart Will Go On. And he does it in a Domino's costume. Cannot hear that anywhere else.
Yep, Al's amazing. And we are going to spoil this movie. So if you haven't seen this treasure from the 80s, you're going to want to go back, watch it, and come back after this. We'll be back after these messages.
Welcome to the All 80s Movies Podcast.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Jason. And this is the podcast where we talk about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from one of the freshest decades for movies, the 1980s. So whether you're a brain, a jock, a valley girl, or a Jedi, we've got some 80s classics for you.
Do these movies stand the test of time? Are we discovering something new? Is there an 80s movie we're finally watching for the first time?
Join us each week as we dive into the cinematic nostalgia that inspired and influenced a generation. From the hits to the cult classics, we'll discuss our earliest memories, favorite scenes, fun facts, and our not-so-favorite movie moments too.
It's the All 80s Movies Podcast, now available on all major streaming platforms. Please subscribe and happy listening.
All right, we're back. And for those who haven't seen UHF, this is your final warning. There are spoilers that lie ahead. Thumbs will be cut off, and you won't want to know that stuff. So you're going to want to turn this off right now if you don't know what we're talking about. If you haven't seen this.
Dare to be stupid. Dare to be stupid.
Or if you're not spoiler adverse like I am, by all means, just spoiler yourself. Just go for it. All right, Chad, do you want to refresh people's memories with what happens in UHF?
I've got a list of spoilers later on that it's just going to upset you. But no, I'll spoil this movie. George Newman is a daydreaming young man who drifts through life with his friend Bob. After being fired from yet another job and thinking, why does this always happen to me? George is given one last opportunity as a station manager for a local channel U62, a UHF station, due to his uncle winning the station in a high-stakes card game. Station's a mess and nearly goes bankrupt. Things spiral out of control and George loses his girl and his will to perform Uncle Nutsy's Playhouse. It's just one of those days, so he puts Stan Spadowski, the slow but sweet janitor, on air in his place. You might say the audience was addicted to Spuds, and U62 becomes number one in local viewings, seemingly having a motto of dare to be stupid, with hit shows like Wheel of Fish and Conan the Librarian, which I would watch every single day if that existed. R.J. Fletcher is a national station manager who grows jealous of George's success, saying, I can't watch this, and attempts to buy out the station from George's uncle, who owes $75,000 in gambling debts. George is given 48 hours and not one more minute to come up with the money or the station will be demolished. The crew put together a telethon, but Stan, who has become the star of Stan Spadowski's Clubhouse, is kidnapped by Fletcher's goons. George and friends race to save George and expose RJ as the corrupt corporate tool that he is. Close but no cigar. They succeed and even raise the needed funds with the help of a homeless man, buys the remaining shares. RJ says, I'll sue ya, but has his license revoked by the FCC. George's girl says, I want to be your lover, and the station is a huge success for all the couch potatoes out there. Good enough for now.
How many Weird Al references did you just make?
12.
12,
sir.
thank you. Okay.
Can I butt in here and just say something also? That $75,000 in 1989 is the equivalent of $180,000 today. So a UHF TV station was worth $180,000.
That is hard-hitting journalism.
Poker game. That is a true high-stakes poker game. Even if it is a failing station that George and his buddy there, bring back to life.
His uncle seems so deliciously sleazy.
Yeah.
But yet controlled by his wife. Completely and utterly controlled by his wife.
Stanley Brock is just very, very good. Just so, again, like I said, he's you can totally buy him like riding these waves and dips and falling into the pool with the cordless phone and stuff like that. It just and he's like, I'm going away on business, air quotes. So
gambling's a business to some folks, man. So I mean that's
so first thing, Alex, is we mentioned UHF station, which this, I guess for some who may not remember, this is ultra high frequency TV. This is your local TV station shows. It's not getting
over the air.
Over the air.
Yeah,
correct.
Hyper local.
Yeah. So this is even more. I mean, now we have podcasts and YouTube and all kinds of ways just to get your voice out there. But
you can still hook a set of rabbit ears up to your television. Your television has a digital decoder in it. However, there are no UHF or VHF over the air broadcast. It's all a digital broadcast that is received by an antenna, either in your attic or a set of rabbit ears on the back of your TV. And then there's a computer board that decodes that signal and pops it out on your TV in 1080p for absolutely free. And the technology's the same. Well, not the same. The result is still the same. It's just much, much better and goes significantly further. However, I mean, this is how TV was back in the day before cable. You had UHF and VHF.
Yeah. And so I think that's one of the things that might get lost on somebody watching this today, of in a day where like Chocolate Rain can become like the recipient of millions of viewers and stuff like that. I mean, this is something that wouldn't have been appreciated necessarily. So the notion of taking over your whole community, getting everybody, and I think this movie's shot in Tulsa. I don't know that they boasted on its sleeve, but I mean, the notion of getting everybody in Tulsa to just fall in love with their local yokels is actually really funny.
Also remember that this is, especially with the telethon in the end, this 1989 is when, that's kind of when UHF and over the air stations like that were fading away.
Yeah.
Cables coming in. You've got giant satellite dishes in your backyard. I mean, where early DirecTV and Dish Network, or whatever they were called back then. I mean, I just remember the satellite dishes, or our buddies that had them. But when this movie was released, UHF television was still a thing. So, which is more interesting to think about, because hey, this is something that's going out. Support your local, UHF TV with a telethon. So,
I think it's interesting how this movie and Wayne's World both capture this notion of like, Wayne's World's another one of these things of like some dudes in their basement, like local broadcasting and captivating their whole community. And both of them are really kind of interesting in that way. They capture kind of the end of an era. To your point, Alex, things are about to change for how people consume stuff. So if anything's dated, it's probably the concept. But even with that, I'm going to ask another question. Does it matter? Does it matter that, like, if somebody comes and picks this up today, you said your wife was new to it. I mean, does that change how somebody comes to it now?
I had to explain what it was, but I mean, I don't. I mean, she understood the concept, and once I explained it, I mean, it was all good. So
it needs a disclaimer on there at the beginning, kind of like.
The weird part is I have rabbit ears on my TV in the living room. I just do. I mean, I can still pick up local news, and there's about 15 channels that I can pick up. If my DirecTV ever goes out, I can still watch a football game. So it's important to have that backup.
Yeah, and honestly, to your point, the cord cutter's guide for a while, that was part of it. In order to get your locals, you could cut the cord and still use an antenna. Yeah.
Yeah, the leaf antennas back in the day.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Some of it definitely matters. Like, I see Al saying some of the things that they kept in, like he was so blown away by the animation. And I visit it now, and particularly the Beverly Hillbillies section. The animation is just so early 90s, late 80s bad.
So I so disagree with that. I think it fits. It was so close to the Dire Straits video with being so different. And I mean, if you want to compare it into today's term, what it looks like Minecraft.
Yes, I mean, it does.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So I can't say that it was so bad. I thought it was great for 1989.
Yeah, it's geometric in an affectionate sort of way. So it's simplified.
Yeah. It's from having my 6-year-old and seeing videos in this animation style that just produces a very visceral, angry reaction.
But I mean, so this is we've talked about like what it is, but like I think this is an amazing framework for Al to do his work in. Al does parody so well. So what he's doing is he's parodying local broadcast and local commercials and, low end, like you said, commercials and stuff like that. So
speaking of local commercials, I think it was the one local commercial for the car lot is the most risque scene in the entire movie.
You don't think tossing poodles out a window?
No. The car dealer, Crazy Eddie, I think it was Crazy Eddie.
Something like that.
Clubbing, what was it about clubbing seals?
If you don't come down here and buy this car, he's going to club a baby seal, which was a big, and I mean, to throw that in there, I mean, yeah, throwing poodles out the window is pretty bad to make sure they can fly, or teach them to fly, rather. Yes. Literally clubbing a baby seal if you don't come down and buy a car.
There's like a mound of dead poodles though outside.
And that's funny that you say that, because that is such a quick edit. It's just in the house, out of the house, or out of the apartment, and then back in. And if you don't know what you're looking for and you haven't watched this movie a few times, yeah, there's a pile of dead poodles out there.
I'm not a PETA expert, but wouldn't they get upset over the ant farm? Like treating it like an extra sketch when he's like, look at this, it takes them months to dig all these little tunnels, and he shakes up and down.
I don't think
while we're
talking, man, they really hate it when I do that.
Yeah, there were no ants in
there.
While
we're talking about Trinidad Silva here, I don't know if you guys know this, but did you know that he is a Mexican music superstar who co-founded a very classic Mexican band called Los Tigres del Norte? I mean, he's done. This guy is a professional musical showman. I have no clue. Like, I mean, like this guy has records upon records upon records.
So this is Raoul's from Raoul's Wild Kingdom.
Yes.
in the bedroom, we should mention for those who were
Correct.
freshening back up on this. But yeah. And that is Trinidad Silva, is who Alex is mentioning. I knew he had died during the filming of this in a tragic car accident. The movie's dedicated to him, and he was supposed to have more scenes, which it's a shame because he's really funny.
He starts off so great. I was like, man, I would legit listen to this guy's nature show. He just has such enthusiasm, and then he tosses the turtle.
Turtles are not nature's. Settle down.
That's what Pete is getting angry about. I don't know that there were ants.
After about 5 turtles, Chad realized that part was not actually true.
Yes.
If anybody from PETA is listening to this, Chad does not. I don't believe he licks turtles and throws them on the ceiling for suction cup action. So.
After the 5th time, he stopped doing it.
No.
No animals were harmed in the making of this podcast.
That's right. But it's a good format. Al has freedom within this. He can change what he's doing by changing what program he's showing so quickly. So it's able to give a scattershot of things, and it's cool to have a framework that enables you to do that. Like when you take a road trip comedy, you can take all these diffuse things that don't necessarily go together, character actors and things like that. This is another good format to do that. And I've seen people write this off as being, this is a total generic thing for the time. The evil network wants to shut them down. They have to raise money and save it. But while that part of the structure might seem similar, I think what you get from Al within that and what he does with it is certainly more than I would say generic. I don't know if that's fair.
That plot doesn't hurt Dodgeball one bit.
Well, no, I completely agree with you, but I don't think that's the, that's the framework. And that's not what makes this movie platinum, because I'm saying Weird Al's platinum now.
No.
I mean, it's everything else. And, I going back to Robert and Ebert, giving it so low and saying that Al's lack of screen time, do you consider Weird Al to be the main character in this movie? I don't.
I think so.
You don't. Oh, that's interesting.
Are you going with Stan?
100%. Steals the show.
He's a show stealer. There's no doubt about that. This is a pre-Seinfeld Michael Richards as Stanley Spadowski.
Although they tried to get Geary into this movie. That was fun.
They wanted him for Bob, which I would have really enjoyed that too.
Movie or fifth major acting role, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, he done Child's Play.
But I know George is the main character and the plot line follows George, but Stanley is the hero.
For sure. And he definitely, I think Al it's interesting in moments. He is, like you said, he's just wacky and funny in the beginning. And I think the early scenes, the movie actually starting to get going in the early, once you get out of the Indiana Jones parody, it kind of slows down a little bit as they're running through these dead-end jobs for the first 15 minutes before they get the UHF station. So, yeah.
So it's something a lot of today's movies miss. They don't set the characters up.
So without that Indiana Jones opening, it actually starts a bit slow. So it's good that they threw that daydream in there. But
I just came off the Walter Mitty podcast earlier this year. It's like, oh, it's daydreaming again.
Yeah,
okay.
This will be a theme for you this year, apparently.
Yeah, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah. You're right. Al seems to be the joke. And at first, my first thought was like, I realized the first 15 minutes of this aren't really taking flight yet because they haven't gotten to all the shows and all the other stuff yet. Like you said, Alex, it's, I don't know that if you were to write a movie today, they have the patience to wait that long to quote unquote get into it.
I mean, we've watched some slow burns before. The Witch takes, what, an hour and 40 minutes to get to the point?
It's always his go-to.
It's not always my go-to, but
it's always his go-to.
That's a great one to get to.
So, of these TV programs, I mean, we have a series of gags. Let's just get into it. Like, this is when we do a comedy movie like this, part of the fun is just saying, this made me laugh. What are some of your favorite things that they just do through this UHF station, Alex?
My absolute favorite scene in the entire movie is the marble and the oatmeal.
You get to drink from the fire hose.
You get to drink from just the entire setup. I mean, Stanley's got his big show at this point. I mean, it's high dollar. He's number one, and I mean, there is a kid and two older people. I don't know if they're his parents, if they're his grandparents, if they're just random people. They don't say, but they are digging through a sandbox full of oatmeal, and I can't remember the kid's name, but the kid finds the marble in the oatmeal. Stanley runs over, puts him on a dollar store, nickel horse, and drags him over to a fire hose, lines him a foot away from it, and then just unleashes flying across the stage.
And I love how they cut to a dummy flying back like a lifelike, as if he's just like flying through the air, like lightweight.
It's hysterical. My number two is Spatula City, which we've already talked about earlier, and I apparently got the number wrong. But my number three for this is very, very, very short, very, very minute. You might have missed it if you're not really paying attention. But when he goes over to his girlfriend's house for dinner, she makes mashed potatoes. He says, "Oh, it's my favorite." And then he's doing the Close Encounters of the Third Kind mountain with the mashed potatoes, and he just looks up as she is telling him about his day. He's into these mashed potatoes and looks up and just goes, "This is important." I mean, just dead on Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And
this means something.
This means something. I mean, now, and that's going to be something totally lost on somebody in today's world that has never seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
That's fair. That's fair.
They're not going to have a clue. You could even have a keyboard. They're not going to get it.
Yeah,
we're showing our age here, fellas. But I just love it. I mean,
so we're establishing this might just play better for the Gen Xers and the elder millennials, pretty much.
So.
Okay.
I mean, how many Gen Z, is that where we are? People who have seen Gone with the Wind. They went a little harder at the end of saying, "Hey, this is something you should recognize."
At the end, Veronica knew exactly what Gone with the Wind was. I mean, she was in on it. So
Al selects really good things to parody in this one, though. Raiders of the Lost Ark, people know what it is for sure still. Yeah. In fact, they're still making more of them.
Sure.
Rambo, I mean, I'm not convinced Stallone's done doing those. I mean, they just kept coming. And I mean, the parody of Rambo still holds up. Movies based on Rambo still continued. Like you said, Gone with the Wind is timeless. I mean, it's
Gandhi too.
Gandhi is a historical figure, and that's still just a hilarious notion of him picking up an automatic weapon and doing a backflip. And
I think the most offensive part of that is he ordered a steak.
I know, yeah. Rare,
yeah.
But it's one of those things where I think It will. I think this stuff's just funny on its own enough. I think some parts, like you said, might get lost, but we've covered some movies like this where maybe some references at the time get lost, but the rest of it still holds up fine. And because it's Weird Al, I think is. Would you say he's grown throughout the ages? Like, I mean, this is not the peak of Weird Al's career. No. I don't think so. Like, my question is, would he have made more money had he made this later?
We'll see how Weird does. I don't know. He's a beloved figure now.
Exactly.
He's just considered like this treasure. I don't know how well Weird is doing. It does have Daniel Radcliffe, which probably helps.
I mean, from the beginning, he just hit it. He found a niche market that was so amazing, and he was so good at it that it was just, he hit the ground running, and he's just been solid ever since. I don't know if there's any, I'm not an expert. I mean, I've enjoyed his work since I was a little kid, but I don't know if there's been any peaks and valleys. I'm sure there are when you get microscopic on it. But I mean, from an outsider, looking in, he's just been solid.
Yeah, I thought so too. The Al did say with regard to this movie, it actually tanked his own career for about 3 years. He said he was in a slump, and then he did Smells Like Nirvana. And that was like...
It was a good album, Off the Deep End.
That was his renaissance. At least that's what he...
But I don't even think that that's necessarily like... That's really hard. Hindsight's always 20/20, right? And that's so hard to look back on because when we went through the movies that were released in 1989 that he absolutely got buried in, it's... How are you going to compete with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Batman?
Right.
And I mean...
Again, his production studio had this test well. They believed in it. This was going to be the thing that saved Orion that year.
Yeah.
They gave him strawberries every day.
And then the production studio goes out from under you. So that's like saying in this time period, you can't get anything on the air without your record company going to bat for you. And if your record company falls flat,
these other movies that were released that year were Orion. Do you have any clue?
I have no idea. I don't think they were a huge studio.
I don't know. I don't. I've not done enough homework to go through, but I know they don't make it past this. So with those big box office smashes, all it takes, you can have 5 failures for one really big success. Like if you get something that's massively profitable, you're good. So the fact that Orion went under is probably an indication that not. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah.
You can correct me if I'm wrong later on social media if you want people. I wouldn't be the first time.
Oh, they will.
Yeah. But anyway, if you're a musician and your record company falls flat, you're not getting on the radio, you're not getting on MTV. So same thing's going to be true. You're not going to get commercials put on TV. You're not going to get in the magazines. The ways that you got your buzz passed about at this time. Now there's more methods for like an independent film to roll up and still have success. There's more means to do that. But certainly at this time, if your production studio falls on its face, that's it.
And it's not good.
They have Caddyshack.
The best one that I can remember other than UHF is actually Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, I've covered that one.
In 1989, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, I mean, and there's not a whole lot there that I saw.
So the villain is one of the ones that, Chad, you like a good villain.
I do.
Do you like Channel 8?
I love Kevin McCarthy so much. We've covered him in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He just does yelling well. And there's a behind the scenes with them talking about this movie and how he just couldn't stop cracking up after he was yelling at people and being really mean. But he does this blowhard jerk, I hate my son and everybody else so very, very well.
He looks like he's having fun being mean, like, and that funness that he's having just comes so across. Like he's a villain. He's a despicable character, but he's having fun playing this caricature, I think. So maybe it's just the tone of the movie. Maybe it's just because I like Weird Al Yankovic, but I've just got this big grin on my face, and the Channel 8 villains all just crack me up.
I love the nepotism as well. I mean, with his son. I mean, his son's just completely incompetent with his band of yes men. Running the network. I mean, it's just here's the corporate with the big boss and the yes men, and just absolutely being pummeled. I mean, they one of the guys comes in with the ratings reports, and it says Stanley Spowski's number one, and what's his name? RJ looks at him and says, he's got the cowboy hat with the small coonskin off the back of the cowboy hat, and he looks over and goes, "Take that stupid thing off." And the guy that brought in the report just looks so sad, but yet rips off his mustache.
Yeah. So sad. It's a fake mustache. It's a good fake mustache, by the way.
It is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Completely. A fake mustache. You guys got to watch. If we haven't completely ruined the movie for you at this point, go watch UHF. It's fantastic. I mean, there's just so much in it. There's so many little things that are just, and you may just chalk those up to being 80s. I mean, those were just 80s caricatures almost. But yeah, I agree. RJ was a great villain.
Yeah, and the stuff that happens around them, like when he fires Stanley, and he's really mean to him, and he's like, "May I call you Stanley?" Sure. Stanley, get out! You're fired. And then he leaves, and then he's like, "Oh, these reports that I accused you of stealing, and the whole reason I fired you, they're here in my chair the whole time." And then they have a good laugh about it, and they don't undo what they did.
It's just the laugh afterwards. Yeah, absolutely.
So the other good one was he's like, "What would my father say today? Hope I'm in a box. I'm underground. I'm in this dark space. How can I get out of here?" So we have a great villain. That always helps a ton. And we have a good plot framework. One that we didn't mention that I really enjoyed was, so when they first get on and do town talk, they've got the local high school shop teacher, and they do the kind of Julia Child, like Dan Aykroyd cutting your thumb off and the blood's going on you, which is really funny on its own right. But it comes back because the station is, getting legs locally, and you see what Al does with or George's character, I should say, does with it, and town talk builds up to all the way to
the KKK.
Next up on Town Talk, lesbian Nazi hookers abducted by UFOs, forced into weight loss programs this week on Town Talk.
Right.
Well, Russell, you touched on this, but I mean, the shop scene, that's Emo Phillips in there. And
it's hilarious.
So, I mean, and it's just, I don't know if people remember Emo Phillips, but a very, very funny comedian, but very, very different. Different mannerisms, different way of speaking, very slow, very deliberate, but yet very odd. I mean, I think that's the best way I can explain.
That's fair.
And I would like to hear your best Emo Phillips impression, please.
Gosh, I wouldn't prepare. Well, I've cut off my thumb, and I seem to have a little bit of blood here. Oh no!
You're kind of doing Kermit the Frog, but it is close.
Yeah, I mean,
it's very similar. I mean, that's a good analogy. But I mean, Emo and Weird Al were such good friends, and for him to have such a short segment in that, but yet at the same point in time, hilariously weird.
That was one of the differences too, whether this movie would be PG or PG-13. And I got to give Al some credit, whether it be the poodle scene or whether it be the blood from the amount of blood that was in this scene from cutting his thumb off. Al stuck to his guns and felt like this had to be what it was to be funny. So I don't think that hurt him, to be honest with you. The PG comedy is almost dead now. I've talked about this. There are no. What Home Alone or Uncle Buck, where John Hughes lived really well and would give you these PG comedy things. That's not even a thing anymore. So I don't know how big of a deal that was at the time, but I still like that he stuck to his guns and said this is the right amount of humor.
All right. Yeah. Didn't want his movie edited. The one we didn't talk about that I love so much is The Wheel of Fish. I love that. Yes. Yeah. It's set up later as a Family Guy joke of the mystery box. It could be a boat.
No, it's totally let's make a deal.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it's a parody of Let's Make a Deal. They bring it. I mean, but instead of the curtains, they do a wheel, and then they bring down. Do you want to trade what you had behind, curtain number 3 to what Coney's bringing down the stairs? I mean, like, it was the ultimate zonk. Yes. I mean, because, you opened door number 3 and it was, a busted down Sooner Schooner. And I mean, you traded your 1985 Datsun Z for that. I mean, but instead, Red Snapper, ooh.
Very fresh.
I love the model that's just so casually holding this giant red snapper.
I like the woman's face who realizes she got nothing when the box goes up. Like her the way her shoulders sink, her face just like all life deflates out of it. She does such a good job.
That was a good extra, yeah.
She's a no-name actor on this, and I got to give her some major props for that one. And then topped off with the over the top because she feels terrible. Mm-hmm. So you feel bad for her, and you're just like, oh, I'm so sorry this happened to you. Stupid! You're so stupid! And it's like that really sells the joke.
It's just fantastic.
Some other fun things, like when they were just pitching the programs, if you look at the board, all the ridiculous ideas that they have up there. I mean, there's so
much dirt.
Yeah,
yes.
That's a Friday night primetime show.
Volcano Worshippers.
That's a real thing. That is the club that Al started to get into his yearbook. So he started a Volcano Worshippers club.
I mean, the Wonderful World of Phlegm.
Yes.
I mean, I think it had an hour time slot, if I'm not mistaken.
Friday night. Friday night.
The Flying Pope. I mean,
we have the Flying Nun.
So you got Town Talk, Traffic Court, Secrets of the Universe, which has Philo, that
was fantastic. How to make your own plutonium out of homemade goods.
Deadpan Deliveries do it for me, and his is great.
Let's go back. Who ultimately saves the day?
He does.
Yes.
Who quietly saves the day by, installing a giant camera in the ceiling of R.J. Fletcher's office. And
just straight out of Revenge of the Nerds with the side of that camera.
completely. Catches RJ in a rant and then amps completely overruns the UHF tower to the point that it is glowing and has a switch already prepared to do this, which is fantastic. By the way, who is an alien?
Yes.
Which I think that's the only way that if you look this up on IMDb, it does say it is a sci-fi movie.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Comedy, sci-fi, and which that's the only thing I can see that's sci-fi in this. And then has the switches prepared to override and broadcast RJ's rant as he is trying to cancel the telethon.
And he jumps over his desk in sheer embarrassment afterwards, not like ooh, I'm going to try and backpedal this or whatever. Well, I'm not talking about you guys. He just embarrassed, jumps over his desk off screen.
Philo looks like Cabal from his fatality in Mortal Kombat when he takes off the mask and the snakes shoot out. That's the alien type animation that Al was they thought about cutting that. And Al was like, no, this is remarkable. We're keeping it.
They had over 2 hours of content. Over 2 hours of content. People have been demanding a director's cut on this, but Al maintains that, we cut it for a reason. It wasn't all funny, but
I think it's. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I wouldn't change a thing. It's just is that the only actual special effects? The antenna, the alien. What other special effects are in this movie?
All of the Rambo scene where they
the Rambo scene's actually a lot of special effects work because he's got he's got explosions, he's got the muscle suit.
Muscle suit.
By the way, I love how bad the muscle suit is.
Yeah. I also like how bad his Rambo face is. When he doesn't even say anything. He's just and I love it when the camera zooms out. And he is standing 1 foot away from somebody with an explosive arrow. Right. And then lets go. Nothing bad happens to him. And they explode. And it's obviously like a foam model exploding. I love that. I love the ghetto. I like that bad. The bad effects are part of the comedy.
Going back to the Rambo scene, it's hilarious that scene especially that scene, loops back to the very beginning of the movie for George being a daydreamer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to save Stanley once he's been kidnapped. And he runs out of the station during the telethon to go save him. And that there's a flash cut to him being Rambo, to him kicking in the door to save Stanley with the goons. But then Yumi and his top ninjas from the Taekwondo class come out and actually
Of
save
the closet and say supplies.
Exactly. So they were there
so
the whole time.
It is great.
By the way, we did tell everybody listening there would be spoilers. So
yes, and we also warned them you should watch it before we talk about this, because if you haven't, you're like, I'm seriously lost in these niche references.
Right.
So,
we are hopping so far, and we're at the 15-minute part. We're at the very end. We're back in the 30-minute part. So go watch it. It's fantastic.
But we haven't talked about the cast. It's really good. I mean, I got to say, Weird Al did an amazing job to get the right people around him. Victoria Jackson, she's only like 3 years. She's in the middle of her Saturday Night Live run, so she's not necessarily like a powerhouse or as established as she will be in the early 90s. He gets pre-sitcom Fran Drescher.
Mm-hmm.
So before The Nanny, he gets Michael Richards, as we said, pre-Seinfeld. I mean, these are really good actors. I mean, I guess you mentioned Trinidad Silva's resume, and Emo Phillips, and just everybody he puts into this around him. I don't know if it's just because Al's such a likable guy and he ends up being so funny that people want to be around him, but he's done an amazing job at finding the right people to work with him. Everybody seems to have really great chemistry.
Yeah. There wasn't anything on trivia or people that just hated working on this movie. Or
Victoria Jackson gushed about like how nice it was to work with him. I guess she said that it was nice to work with somebody who didn't want to just be around in your underwear the whole time, or that, like she was saying, like he was really,
she could be funny with her clothes on. Yes.
Yeah, she said that he was really kind and fun to work with, and just everybody really seemed to say awesome things about him. So Jennifer Tilly and Ellen DeGeneres auditioned for the role of Terry.
I'm sad about that.
You think Ellen DeGeneres would have been the right call?
Jennifer Tilly.
Jennifer Tilly.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
I like Victoria Jackson. Maybe it's just because I'm such an SNL nut, but I think she's weird in a fun way.
He's clearly going for a weird voice thing, and Jennifer Tilly has that just.
I love Victoria Jackson's whiny voice in it. I mean, she's because Al's and Weird Al. I mean, he is just himself in this movie, even though he's George, and he's kind of whiny. He's daydreamy. He can't hold anything down. And when Victoria Jackson, when she's sitting in the restaurant that Al announced on a special bulletin, during the day, and she's a dental hygienist. She's working on somebody's mouth with TV in there, and he invites her to dinner, and she shows up to dinner, which he doesn't come to, in that giant pink dress with the.
What was that dress, by the way? We're skipping ahead to wardrobe, but you're right. That was a weird call.
I loved it. I loved that it was a ridiculous poofy dress.
She's not supposed to be weird, though, is she? She's supposed to be normal and saddled with the weird guy.
I don't want to go out on a limb here, and somebody may comment in the comments on the podcast one day or say me wrong. I don't think that was that weird of a special occasion dress at that time.
Oh, it's just the 80s.
The puffy sleeved 80s shirt.
It's okay, Alex. I've been well documented. I'm almost 200 episodes of bashing 80s wardrobe. It's been around.
I'm saying I think it was normal. I'm saying I think it was normal.
Okay. So. Weird Al has a signature Hawaiian shirts though, as he must.
Yes.
One casting thing I think is a heartbreaker. They almost got Stallone to actually come in and do a cameo as the helicopter booth worker. That would have been so good to it would have been
during the Rambo sequence. Yes,
during the Rambo sequence, he wanted to do it and he just had to back out due to schedule reasons.
Going back through the Orion movies from 1989. I'm looking at the cost to make, and UHF was by far the lowest. I mean, I'm seeing, UHF was $5 million. There's 10 million, there's 16 million, there's 15 million, there's 13 million. UHF was, if this was the savior, they didn't give it anything.
I don't know how much he felt constrained on it. It seems like they went to Tulsa. They worked near a shopping mall, it sounds like. And so like their filming locations were tight. I think they were just resourceful with what they had. Maybe they knew they didn't have much, but I'll be honest with you, though. The Indiana Jones sequence and the Rambo sequences don't look cheap. Like, right. I'm aware I'm watching a parody. I mean, but it's also not so bad that it's bad.
When the boulder turns on the street.
When the boulder turns.
I think... What else is there? There's a couple apartment scenes. There's a couple office scenes.
Right.
There's a game show studio. I mean, there's not a whole lot that isn't already a studio. I mean, they're making a movie. I mean, but it's just so well done, and the plot just rolls. It's okay.
There's your other special effect that I completely forgot about until Russell just mentioned it, was the Who Framed Roger Rabbit absolute flattening of Al, George, when he's crushed by that boulder.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
I love it when they go into the cave and everything's so Indiana Jones-like, but then they have all these signs all over the place. There's like warning, caution tape, don't enter, absolutely. And just so cartoony. Like there's something very Looney Tunes. And
don't forget about the falling rock.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Ebert,
so when he's trying to get the Oscar.
I've heard Ebert say before, like, cartoons are funny because they're cartoons. They're not funny in real life. And that is the wrongest, most stupid statement ever. So, I mean, I like these cartoon things. Like when he's running from the boulder across, like, the Great Pyramids, like, and they're just cheap blue screen backdrops. Or like the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, the nonsensical landmarks.
It looks like almost like Ernest running from something. Like, it's like cartoonish running. I love this. I'm already having a wonderful time. And Al's a bit of something to get adjusted to when his delivery's strong. Like when he's like banging his head on the counter. He's like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And like he's coming on strong. So if you're an uptight critic and you have not been around Weird Al and you're not aware that he makes songs like Christmas at Ground Zero and everybody's going to blow up in a nuclear holocaust and stuff like that. I mean, if you're not aware that like...
That's a really good point.
Like if you're not aware that Al is bringing a very, at times dark and sometimes violent, sometimes just whimsical, sometimes Looney Tunes, and it's all coming together... You might look at him like his own cameraman does, like, because the heavy cameraman that looks back from his camera, like, what is wrong with you? Like, so, I think some of the critics just didn't know what Weird Al was when they got handed this.
And I mean, if you don't realize Weird Al's funny, and it's supposed to be funny, and it's supposed to be making fun of things, then, that's on you.
Yeah, I have to imagine some of them are stodgy about even the Oscar statuette. I didn't know it was a rule that you can't actually depict an Oscar statue, so they changed it. And if you look at the statue, it's holding his crotch. So they're probably looking at that and just going 0 stars right away.
But that's part of the parody.
Yeah.
And I mean, good on Al for sticking with it and changing it just enough where you don't get in trouble.
Well, generally speaking, Al doesn't do this with his music, though. Like, Al asks for permission. People know they're doing it. Like, he's
after Coolio.
Other than, even before that, like, he just thought that he had permission. Like, I guess, like, there was miscommunication on that one. But, I mean, but Chad's right. Other than Coolio, you don't see a lot of people lined up saying, like, I'm mad that you made fun of this very serious song that I made. And, like... Right.
Kurt Cobain loved it. He said that's how they knew they made it.
Yeah, it was very... Madonna liked like a surgeon, I mean? Like, it was...
Although Paul McCartney was like, it's not going to be about food, is it?
I'm interested to know what Metallica thought. I mean...
Oh, man. I hope it later on... I have to imagine they were jerks about it initially.
It's honestly like one of those things where all the presidents love their SNL impression. Well, maybe not the last.
Haven't checked in.
Okay, not the last former president, but all of the former presidents up to a certain point loved hearing whether like it be like Jimmy Carter, like the Dan Aykroyd. I mean, Gerald Ford actually liked Chevy falling over the place, and sometimes they're very brutal. Or like George W. Bush, liked what Will Ferrell did and thought it was funny. Like so. It's kind of an enormous honor to be parodied.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that Al's working with his best friend, Jay Levey, who wrote the screenplay and his manager, and so Al's not going far from his network of comfort and what Al does. So if there was ever a time that it just felt like Al's music being brought to the movie format, that's the thing I liked most about it. When I read about this or I saw about it in Behind the Music, like when they was talking about it, it's like, it was everything I wanted to be. It was like Al's albums had been converted to TV or movie format, and that was just what I wanted.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah, everybody liked working with Jay Levey. Although there's a funny parody interview where where they asked Al, "What's it like working with Jay Levey, who's normally your manager?" And now he's like, "I don't know. He just lays on his back all day. I mean, he's a real bum. I mean, he just doesn't do anything. I mean, I don't get it. Everybody's supposed to like suck up to him, and I mean, he's not that smart, and like he just goes on and on and on and on, just like lays it on thick."
We should also mention he was Gandhi.
Yes, he was.
So he got even in the mix himself. So now, what do you think about this? The title. Do you feel like part of its shortcomings or perceived shortcomings, which I'm going to say this is a cult classic. People like this movie, by the way. Like if you look online, people like this movie. So it just didn't do well in the box office. Is the title to blame at all?
It is what it is.
I agree. Weird Al says he hates the title. He wanted to call it. Al wanted to call it The Vidiot, or and I guess in foreign markets it was called The Vidiot from UHF. I don't like this. I don't like that title.
I don't know. I think it's terrible. I think UHF is perfect.
Yeah, I don't know because you had it up. The TV Crazies is what it's called in Mexico. I don't think any of these are great titles. UHF is probably a little more problematic as it gets older because no one knows what UHF is. But I have hope. Like Alex, your wife gives me hope of maybe if there isn't someone there to explain to them the concept of UHF, even still, it won't be a barrier.
I think it might be correctable by just simply saying, like, you know how they say like John Carpenter's Halloween? Like, yeah. I think saying Weird Al's UHF might have been something that would have been probably the way to go with this, like boasting, because I mean, let's face it, this is the reason you're here.
I thought you were going to go like the Whoopi Goldberg route, so she shows up on old cartoons that says, hey, these are really racist, but we haven't touched up on them. Just have Whoopi Goldberg explain the beginning of this. UHF was a hyper-local station back in the day. We've changed none of the words and kept its original meaning.
Let's be honest. You know, the three songs that we chose that are, you know, our favorite Weird Al songs are making him more money than UHF. He's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's okay.
Also, any musician makes more money from their live show, and Al still fills up auditoriums. And he has done so over decades.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
not hurting. He's not hurting.
How many music artists, I mean, like rock artists, have been able to fill up venues since the mid 80s all the way up till now consistently? I mean, perhaps more so, even better now than before.
They're all in the Hall of Fame, that's for sure.
Correct. So wow, that's an interesting point. Does Weird Al make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
He should.
Oh, absolutely.
I never thought about it until now, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's a motion. We just now started it.
We're probably late to the game.
Is there a I got this. Hang on. Is there a petition?
I'm sure Al himself has started this petition, but it's probably like, keep me out of the...
I think he's more humble than that. He wouldn't do that.
No, I was going with he's got a petition of keep me out of the Hall of Fame.
I bet Weird Al would be petitioning to get into a non-existent hilarious Hall of Fame, that like the Spam Hall of Fame or something like that for writing the song Spam. Like I think that seems like Weird Al's style to like create his own sad Hall of Fame to be a member of.
Songs about food, Hall of Fame.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Now, are you disappointed we only got the Beverly Hillbillies Money for Nothing parody by Dire Straits? Do you want more Weird Al songs and parodies in this?
Al hates that title, by the way.
Money for Nothing?
Well, it's called Beverly Hillbillies / Money for Nothing because Dire Straits was involved. Their lead guitar player was involved in the video. So yeah, he hates the title of that. I want more. I want Like a Surgeon, or even something goofy like I Want a New Duck.
Okay.
That was around this time.
Part of me says yes, part of me says no, because when you look at the album itself, it's so centric to the movie, and
It is.
I think if you throw Like a Surgeon in there, it clouds it.
Well, he would have to create it for the movie in theory. Like
They did special. I mean, it's on the album.
Yeah. Yeah, he actually in Weird he does an original song, and during the original song he says this song is technically up for Oscar consideration. So he was up for consideration here too.
They wanted to use. Apparently, he wanted to use the song "Kung Fu Fighting" when his Uncle Harvey was like in the pool on the raft, and they didn't give him the money for that. To your point, Alex, they didn't spend a lot of money on this, so he wrote "Let Me Be Your Hog" for that scene to just be playing in the background. That's what I was kind of getting at. You could do another Daydream, or you could do another like here's a local act, and then like put them on UHF station as like a live music performance. I thought there were opportunities for it or maybe post credit. Like while the credits are rolling. Oh, yeah. That's something that you didn't see a lot back then. But now people take more liberties with using the credits to your advantage to keep the laughs coming. Now, you talked about special effects, Alex, but there's this stunt to the frying pan when David Bowe is dressed up as Bobo the Clown.
Hey, what a Mr. Frying Pan.
Yeah.
Yes. Apparently, accidentally did get hit and his lip was bleeding.
Oh.
And so his clown makeup hides it, but apparently if you look closely, I still don't really notice it, to be honest with you, but the pan made contact with his face.
Oh, no, he gets
supposed
hit.
To stop short. Huh?
He gets hit.
Yeah, he gets hit.
So that look of anger was genuine.
Perhaps. It says they used that cut.
Yeah.
So that's the cut they use. So they didn't end up having to do it again. The dog biscuits are actually bakery biscuits, though. They're like they went and actually had cookies made that look like dog biscuits as opposed to eating them. So and the rest of the crew ate them.
I do like that entire sequence. That is great.
That is great because it's like what happens on the worst day. I like the bad Uncle Nutsy's day, like when he has his heart broken.
Yes.
And he just goes out there absolutely flat. Hey, kids.
This
Where
would
do
be
you
me.
want to go today?
Shut up, you little weasel.
Yeah, I mean, like, absolutely failing at it. And that's when he put Stanley out there, and Stanley was born for it, turns out. And I love how Stanley's like, hey, do you want to do this every day? Yeah. Hey, I still get to be the janitor, right? Stanley's so lovable. Like, he loves his mop. He loves being a janitor, and...
My new mop. My friend George gave me this mop.
It's a real good mop, but it's not as good as my first mop.
Everyone's getting very inspired by that speech.
I love it when Stanley is being held hostage by these gangsters, and they just want to kill him so bad. And like the other guy's like, I've got 4 other guys here who want to kill you real bad, and I'm the only guy standing in between there. So please, shut up.
He's doing like the horse with peanut butter on the roof of his mouth at one point when the bandana falls down and he just starts flicking his tongue wildly up at his nose to push it up. Like,
so does anybody, I mean, it's not full Simple Jack, is it?
that's
No.
what comes to my mind is Simple Jack.
No, he doesn't go full. He doesn't go full blown.
You don't go full Simple Jack.
Right, yes.
But is it close?
No, I think he hits he hits where you want to hit with Forrest Gump.
I think it's close.
He's highly functioning to deliver a good kid show.
I'm quoting that.
Yeah, he's closer to the Ben Stiller Tropic Thunder, but he's not quite there.
No, he didn't go full blown.
He gets the strength when he sees his old mop. Because, I mean, he runs over all the thugs.
I love that. He turns into Superman. He breaks the ropes on his chair.
Full power. Full power.
Like Popeye getting spinach big. We're all over the place on this one, and I love it. This is one of the worst times for me following my notes, and it's okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, me too. I mean, I said this earlier, or I alluded to this earlier. You know, Michael Richards as Stanley 100% steals the show in this movie for me. Steals the show. Is the main character. He does. I mean, I know George. We follow George throughout. We see George's girlfriend. We see George's previous jobs, his current job, everything. But Stanley Sapowski is absolutely the main character in this movie.
It's hard to convey this on a podcast. It's hard to actually emulate it in real life. When Michael Richards just shakes somebody's hand, it's funny.
Yeah.
Like when he...
Unless he's in the Laugh Factory.
Yeah, like... When,
right.
Like, everything he does is very funny. So the tempo to keep up with that...
Everything in this movie he does is very funny, as Alex is alluding to.
Well, I meant Stanley Spadowski.
Yes.
Everything Stanley Spadowski does is just so funny. I love the scene when they're like, "Hey, pizza for Stanley Spadowski," and he knows he didn't order pizza, but like he's so gullible and he goes. But he's in the car for a long way, blindfolded, tied up. He's like, "Hey, I'm thinking we're not going for pizza."
Hey man, you guys aren't for the pizza place. But yet still has a great time with them. I mean, it's his general attitude in everything. You know, going back to what you mentioned a minute ago, you know, when hey, do you want to do this every day? Yeah. But can I still be the janitor? Hey, you just kidnapped me, but we're still going to be friends. You know, I spy something that's orange. Oh, it's my blindfold. The whole kit and caboodle. I mean, he's just a lovable, likable idiot.
I like it when Weird Al and Bob go into the bar together and they think, "What are we going to do next? Because we're going to go bankrupt this week." Yeah. And
hey guys, he's back on.
I know, and everybody's watching a children's program in a biker bar, like
on a UHF station. On a UHF station. When there's a cable affiliate in town, come on. I mean, like, but nobody questions a thing. It's fantastic.
He's up in the camera being like, and sometimes when you're trying to clean up a dirty spot on the floor, you can't just do it by the mop. No, sometimes you got to get down with your hands and knees and a toothbrush.
Sometimes that doesn't work.
And like it plays patriotic music in the background.
Yes.
People are looking up at the screen. Like somebody even has like a slight tear forming in their eye.
Battle Hymn of the Republic. Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to mention this movie has the most Weird Al outcome of a movie I can possibly think of. They actually put a giant Spatula City billboard, and they left it up for quite some time. And
out in a rural area.
It bothered the other businesses because people kept going to these public businesses and saying, "How do I get to Spatula City?" Which I'm sure just tickled Al. Like, that is fantastic.
They made him take it down, yeah.
Yeah.
But apparently it would have worked.
Yeah, I mean, my wife would absolutely buy 9 spatulas to get the next one for a penny.
The Norelco quote is so good too. I liked it so much, I bought the company. Like
yes.
That's like a parody of a Razor ad at the time. Again, funny if you haven't seen it because he's reading a cue card so visibly and he's reading it so badly it feels like a local commercial. Reminds me of in Family Guy when Peter Griffin did a car ad. He's like,
yes.
And he's like, calm down and get the best deals possible at Wilkins Hyundais and Subarus. We sell Hyundais and Subarus.
Yep. I think I would be up for a cemetery plot and buffet.
The bodies were all... Are you tired of sloppy burials?
Yeah.
Body parts are sticking up out of the ground. That's what I meant. Like, I think some people... I have a darker sense of humor, I guess, to be able to appreciate that, but I think that's very funny. And I guess some people just say, "What? What are you doing?" Like, when Siskel's like, he's trying so hard and failing. It's like, you're not on my wavelength.
Right, yeah.
I mean, again, this is a film critic that, you know, criticizes everything. And I don't think Siskel...
That is true.
In the time adjusted to I don't think they had a meter where they said, well, this is a comedy, this is a parody, this is a drama, they tried to do everything on a line, a linear line. And it just let's just look at 1989 movies. I mean, if you compare UHF to almost anything that came out that year, and you try to judge them all on the exact same standard, of course it's going to tank. I mean, it's just not even reasonable.
That's fair. And I mean, I know I like Leonard Maltin a lot better anyway, but he's more humble than the others we mentioned. But also he's lived longer too. But he's quite honestly said, I'm fortunate to have gotten to do what I do. I love movies, and obviously he has a joy for them. But he did say the role of the critic in the format that you're talking about, Alex, he said it's been largely marginalized in today's times. There's aggregators of people who appreciate things in different points. You're going to find your community through the internet, and you're going to find what's right for you. So things are, instead of having somebody talk to you and tell you what you should like, you're going to find your wavelength, and you're going to find what's right for you. So he was saying it's not a good time in life to grow up and want to be like, don't grow up and try and become me, because I don't think I'm necessary anymore.
Well, don't grow up and host a podcast rating movies.
Yeah. But I think that's the difference, though. I mean, genuinely loving something. I mean, most weeks, unless we're covering Breaking Away and you break my heart, I love that movie. We normally just get on here and celebrate how awesome movies are, so that's different.
It's been a bit of a tough year, though. Yeah.
Still sore about Breaking Away.
I know. You gave my movie the worst of the year, so it was deserved.
Oh, okay. It's personal. All right. Would you want how Weird Al is it too? There's this wonderful irony at the end that another RJ Fletcher moment, the bum who he just gave a penny to just be a jerk to, like, here, have a penny, and it just turns out great. Thanks, mister.
Hey, you gotta set this up, because it actually happens earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
He comes and asks Al for some change when he's leaving on a date, and he asks for a change, and Al digs through his pockets because he's a nice dude, and he comes up with some change, and he counts the change and then slaps a dirty dollar bill in his hand. He just wanted change for $1.
Yeah.
He wasn't bumming for spare change. He needed change.
I know. I love that. That is really good. And then he goes to RJ Fletcher next, and outside of Channel 8 as a bum, yeah. And then he says, "Do you have change for $1?" And he gives him a penny. And but he's man, thanks, mister. And I love the way this guy talks, by the way. He's just so great at his job. He looks physically, again, Weird Al got some very physically gifted actors in this one. And then later on in the drive, when it's failing, they pull the plug, they all failed, and he comes up and he's like, why don't you give me how many insurance you need left? Like, here's $2,000.
Yeah.
And then it's perfect, because they really rub it in. After he saves the station, he says, and I got this Rolex watch.
Yes.
I had enough to give to the radio station to have them meet their goal, and I got the Rolex that your son didn't get you.
And RJ just hugs him and cries.
And then his son is like lost, and he goes, Dad, what's happening? And then the cameraman trips him, and he falls on his face in the mud, and it's all perfect. All these little things that were set up.
Which again was revenge, because that happened earlier in the movie when they sent him over to film the city councilman, and it's Fran Drescher as opposed to being the secretary. She becomes the reporter. And, they trip the little person cameraman.
All right. Let's do some superlatives. What do you say?
Let's do it.
MVP? Do I even need to ask of this movie, Alex?
Oh, no, it's Stanley. Stanley's about.
It's Michael Richards. Okay.
Oh, would you disagree?
I'm going to. I'm going with the man himself, Weird Al. I think it's just the irreverent humor and the charm that pulls this all together for me. Just the joy that Al brings to all of his projects and everyone that works with him. I love Weird Al.
It's what drew me to the movie. I found out there was a Weird Al movie, and I was pretty much the next time I go to the movie store, this is what I couldn't wait to go to the movie store to get it. So, I mean, it delivered what I wanted. So Weird Al made it, helped direct it with Jay Levey, and just amazing. So great job. Weird Al for me. Best supporting actor, because this cast is awesome. Now, Michael Richards technically might not be, but did you go something different for this, given that you feel like he is your lead in many ways?
Weird Al.
Weird Al, okay. Best
I don't think this movie, if you take Michael Richards out of this movie, I don't think it works.
Christopher Lloyd apparently was considered for it. No.
No.
too. I don't think he could have gone Simple Jack enough.
Too eccentric, not enough lovable.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fair.
that's a nice way of saying it.
All right, Chad, best supporting.
Love a good villain, Kevin McCarthy. I just, the only thing that I really wanted him to do differently is to just scream, "They're already here!" or "You're next!" Something like that as a nod to Body Snatchers.
That would be good.
Like fire someone and be like, "You're next!"
What about when Philo's flying away in a floating saucer and be like, "Not again"?
That would be fantastic. Okay, that's great.
To that, he could come back and you could do a UHF 2. It could just be, the fiber revolution.
Weird Al's unfortunately cool on doing another. Like he has to, he's been mentioned though.
Yeah.
Mine's got to go with Michael Richards as well. But I love your nod to Kevin McCarthy. They're great. Hidden gem. This one might be a fun one. Deep cast. A lot of good moments. Alex, who or what is your hidden gem?
We've already discussed it. It's Emo Phillips, by far in the shop scene. It's so quick. It's so simple. It's unnecessary, but it just truly brings out public broadcasting. I mean, we've got a show. Because that's essentially what it is. This is a public broadcasting station, and we have a shop class where he's got a table saw, and he cuts his finger off. I mean, it's so short, it's so small, it's so weird, but it really, really, really is public broadcasting.
It's mine. I love the scene where he mocks him, because Weird Al's trying to help him out, on the air. He's like, "When you're operating this long pause, table saw." And he acts like, "Ooh, well, Mr. Table Saw," but he's just mouthing it. I mean, hard laugh for minimal time on the screen. I'm with you, Alex. Chad, hidden gem.
Trinidad Silva. I wanted more of Raul. It's so tragic that he passed. I do have to throw in, though, Dr. Demento makes it into this movie. He's the one that
Really?
Yeah, he's eating whipped cream during the Channel 62 promo.
Perfect.
So
that is fitting.
He has such a huge influence on Al's career.
How good is it when they say, "We've got a couple of more animals," or, "Oh, great, what do we got here?" And they start going through a few things. It's like, we've got some peacocks, we've got some raccoons, we've got some badgers. Badgers?
We don't need badgers.
Yeah.
Which is a line that has been reused in so many different ways in so many different movies.
It's great. Now, Alex, this one may hurt because I can tell you like this one. Recast. If you had to recast,
what was your hidden gem?
I copied him. I was with him with emo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Alex, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Alex, if you had to recast somebody, who would it be?
I can't. I mean, this is such a. I'm going to call this. I'm actually going to call this a low budget film.
It is,
especially since I looked up, and this was Orion's least amount of money pushed to a movie in 1989, and it just worked so well. Everybody just gelled together. It's a classic, and if you changed anything, it might mess it up.
Wow, there's a lot of love here.
So, I told you. I mean, this is UHF is literally in my definitely top 10, maybe top 5.
Wow. Yeah, Chad, how about you, man?
I still want Jennifer Tilly. I want
Jennifer Tilly. Okay.
In Victoria Jackson's role as Terry. Yeah, I like that they're going for unique voices. Victoria's made that joke of, "Hey, I think they just got me and Fran because we have really weird voices." I want to double down on that, and Jennifer Tilly's great with schlocky stuff. So, yeah.
This is a bigger change, so you guys can come at me, but David Bowe as Bob is a good straight man.
He was underused.
I'm going to go with Judge Reinhold for this.
Oh.
I don't have a problem with that.
I think he'd be a good companion to go through all this, and I think he does deflated well. I think we like his deflated face, like in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But also, I think we're rooting for him, too. So,
all right.
Best shot, which is a cinematic moment here. Alex, what's your best shot of the movie?
I already said it earlier, but the fire hose.
That's a good one.
It's just fantastic. I mean, it's yeah, that's it.
Chad,
That is great.
best shot.
The close-up shot of the Twinkie sandwich that George is making, and it's just you get
It looks so gross.
that looks fantastic.
On top of it, he's trying to cheer. What's his? Yeah, he's trying to cheer him up with making
A Twinkie dog.
hot dog and cheese whiz hot dog.
Yeah, I would eat it.
Apparently they ate it, and
Yes.
and he had to do it 5 or 6 times, and he was getting very full, and it didn't like. So apparently that's not something he wanted to eat again for a long time. And any piece of that hot
We
dog
all
or
should have
Twinkie.
had one of those for this episode.
I would have done it for this episode, but I got to admit, cheese whiz on top of a hot dog on top in a cut Twinkie is not something that I've ever been like. I would like to actually try it, but maybe for social media, I don't know.
Yeah,
I,
why not?
I wouldn't normally eat like that, but for this, I would have.
All right.
Maybe next time.
Maybe for UHF too. My best shot of the movie is going to be. This is just a very Weird Al moment, but when Philo hands him the electric connections and he is electrocuted in a very animated cartoon way, the camera's very still, but he's
another
kind of going through the stop motion to like kind of
Yeah.
exaggerate electric, and his hair's getting really big. To see Weird Al's hair get big, it's just so Looney Tunes. That seems like something that would happen to Daffy Duck, and I think cartoons coming to life is hilarious, and I love that. So that's my shot of the movie. Although, great parody shot. I love when he's about to get the Oscar statue off the altar in the bag of sand. He adjusts the weight just right, and he throws it over his shoulder like, I'm just gonna grab this. So there's a funny shot, and then there's this is just iconic. This captures the movie for me. Best scene. I think you mentioned this one before, Alex.
I mean, you want to guess? You want to take a guess?
The fire hose.
Yes.
Fire hose.
It's literally. I mean, it's when I think of UHF, I think of the fire hose. I mean, it's just
Marble in the oatmeal.
You just found the marble in the oatmeal. You're a lucky, lucky boy. You know why? You get to drink from the fire hose.
And his legs are like shaking and quivering like rubber. It's amazing. All right, Chad, best scene for you.
I mentioned mine earlier too. The entire Wheel of Fish scene, it's so ludicrous. Everyone in it, the extra, the model,
The audience.
Yes.
There's no audience in there.
Nothing. You're stupid. You're so stupid.
So apparently they intended to shoot earlier. They had the fish early in the morning. They mounted the fish to the wheel. And if we probably mentioned this 800 times because it leads to lots of interesting stories. But the lights on camera sets are hot. They're super hot, and so the fish smelled awful. So the crowd is not only doing a good job, to Chad's point, to not be grossed out because it did smell. But Al just simply said it was ripe. Is what he called it, and so everybody, the actors are professionals, but to, like you said, the extra, the people who did all that work in the crowd, to not just be sitting there like pale and like it smells like a gross. It's not even like a fish market. It's
right.
Fish that's going bad. So there's another fun outtake scene, since you like this, Chad, of Al being like in the extras. He's like, I like to give back to the community, and so somebody came for it's like you're really weird, Al. He's like, yeah, here, have this red snapper, and he's like signing an autograph on like the red snapper for the kid, and he's like. And the kid's got like this giant fish in his hands or whatever. So, very funny moment there too, off the set. I wish there was a blooper reel in this so bad.
I do too.
So my favorite scene I did mention was the bum coming up with the tons of money, and because it's just too many things all coming back at once. And R.J. Fletcher's been such a great villain, and watching him have his bad moment of, again, this is like when Shooter McGavin steals the jacket away from somebody and runs out on the course with people tackling him. Like, this is great to watch it all crash down around him. Is like, and they even say, normally we would just fine you for this, but in this case, we're taking away your station. Like, seeing as how that broadcast you put out earlier, we're particularly disturbed by this. Everything comes back home to roost for him. But it's not really a scene. It's a gag. Spatula City's my favorite gag. I just love the Spatula City, Spatula City, Spatula City.
We sell spatulas, nothing else.
Nothing says I love you like a spatula. Best wardrobe or makeup moment, Alex.
I'm going to go back to something. I mean,
Please don't pick that pink dress.
I'm going to say it because, I mean, we talked about it. It's not something I really thought about. And yeah, I mean, that pink dress, I think I'm pretty sure that was standard for the 80s. I was 5, so I can't tell. But yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Wow, okay. It gets, I'm not sure that it gets a laugh from me. It gets a whole like, what? What happened here?
Well, I mean, okay, so let me go one step further. And I had never really, as many times as I've watched this movie, and let me, side note here, if I like a movie, I like a movie, and I really don't watch movies over and over and over again. I've watched this movie, Fear and Loathing, Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. Those are movies I've watched over and over and over again. I know these movies by heart. I'd never noticed her dress until the other night.
Okay. So
and
new discovery.
It really stood out to me because everything else is just, I mean, hell, Al's in a Hawaiian shirt most of the time. So
He is. Well, that's what that's Weird Al.
That's Weird Al. So,
Chad.
I think I have to go with the Rambo suit.
That's a really good one.
It's bad, but I like the fact Al said, hey, sometimes it was raining and I got really cold, and so I would just put on this ridiculous bodysuit for warmth. It wasn't even for shooting, and I just like that image of Al walking around in this ridiculous muscle shirt.
Mine's going to be, take that ridiculous thing off. And then he pulls off the mustache. Change one thing, Alex. It's going to be hard.
Nope. Nothing.
Push.
Oh, wow. He's being hard on these segments.
Difficult.
He's being hard on some of these segments. He's a tough cookie.
Let me go back. I mean, it literally holds the test of time. It's still funny, even if you don't understand.
He even said no to some of the layups, like add a blooper reel or add like the easy ways out. He's taken the path that's less traveled. Chad, how about you?
This is the part where I make everyone mad, but I want rid of the Beverly Hillbillies Money for Nothing music video.
But he's a daydreamer.
I have a huge question for this. Do you like the Dire Straits song?
I do.
I'm not a huge fan of the Dire Straits song, but I love the video and that like.
I mean, like it is literally the only parody song.
You're gonna take out all the Weird Al songs?
So this just reminds me more of like watching an episode of Beavis and Butthead, and I never really liked that style of, okay, we're doing things, and then in the middle we're gonna plop a music video, and then we're gonna go back to doing something else. That's never worked for me. So yeah, I understand. I am in the extreme minority. Be mad at me.
Might change one thing. It's going to be, I want to show a series, kind of quick cut, fast, failed jobs when Bob's going through, telling him like, when they got fired from the fast food place and they're, again, around the Twinkie dog scene, he's like, things that didn't work out for them. It doesn't really sound funny in dialogue. I think fast visual cuts to failed jobs or people firing Al very quickly or things that might have gone wrong, like while he was daydreaming, like, I don't know, like painting and then like having like the wrong color be on the side of the house and be like, you're fired. And like, I want a bunch of stuff like that happening.
Stuff like Jazz and Uncle Phil just getting tossed out of various places.
Yes, exactly. Oh gosh, that's perfect. Best quote.
I hate to keep going back to it.
From the fire hose.
Joel Miller, you just found the marble in the oatmeal. You're a lucky, lucky boy. You know why? You get to drink from
the fire hose.
It's just. I mean, what was the clown? What was the clown? I mean,
Bobo.
Yeah, Bobo.
No. I mean, in real life, it was phasing out.
Oh, Bozo the clown.
I mean, that's 100% what it was because Bozo was The Price is Right for
that's a good point. With pies.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, The Price is Right could use pies.
All the slapstick stuff was just for the kids. But Bozo the Clown was nothing but advertising.
It's an idea for something that Weird Al had before this before he ever got to this. So he'd been saving it, and this was the right place for it. So
I mean, that's a reference that kids will not get now. It's like, yeah, we used to have a clown sell us stuff from advertisers as a cartoon, and it was fun, and nobody had a problem.
It was
with
mid-show. Yeah,
It was prior
That's
to.
what keeps you on air, you know.
It was prior to it becoming a big thing.
But that's the thing. I mean, like, I don't think
Was it?
a lot of people knew that Price is Right was just a commercial.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fair. I don't think a lot of people noticed it.
Commercial.
Yeah. All right, Chad, best quote.
Right now, I'd like to show you one of my favorite cartoons. It's a sad, depressing story about a pathetic coyote who spends every waking moment of his life in the futile pursuit of a sadistic roadrunner who mocks and laughs at him as he's repeatedly crushed and maimed. I hope you enjoy it.
Good delivery.
Excellent delivery.
Yeah.
And that just shows the depth of Weird Al. I mean, the two extremes.
The sadness and then the cracking of the voice. I love it.
We have done this before 2 or 3 times on the show, but my best quote's definitely still going to be, okay, you can go for what's in the box. The hero sang is bringing down the aisle. Right now, what's it going to be? I'll take the box. The box. You took the box? Let's see what's in the box. Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Stupid! You're so stupid!
Does that compare to when the first time that you meet Fuji and his students are literally doing
her out the window?
a kick out the window?
Yeah.
And then Fuji looks out and he goes, "Oh, stupid!"
He's just saying, how's the karate class going today? We got a new batch of students. They are so stupid. I'll be honest with you. I love it. It's a total flat stereotype that might not play well today, but I love it. It's hilarious. I think it's done with love, and the guy who plays Cooney does a great job of it. I think I know where this is going. Alex, we've come full circle. On a scale of 5 stars with half-star intervals, what are you giving UHF?
4.8.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm going to round you up to that, but I'm going to call that a 5. That's fine.
No. Nothing's perfect. Nothing's perfect.
Oh, okay. I encounter these people. I'm an easy 5 guy. Like I just chat.
No, nothing's perfect. I mean, your KPIs are always off if you give everything a 5. So
I do.
I mean, you can have Russell's love for practically nothing. He is a cheap kid.
Yeah, I would be the best for like social studies, science fair teachers. It's like that kid looks like he's having fun. I mean, the science is wrong, but he's just having a good time. Your presentation skills are great. It's all wrong, but I mean, hey, go ahead, Chad. What's your UHF?
So I started this at 3.5, and it's a very loving 3.5, but I think talking about it, I'm going to go up to 4. I think it's such a charming cult classic. I'm a sucker for Weird Al. 4 stars. I enjoyed it.
All right. I'm going to go 4.5.
All right.
So I think the only thing that might have kept this from going higher for me is just maybe making it more of a cultural thing with more people quoting it all the time. You have to find your comedy nerds out there who like this. And when you do, I'm kind of excited. I'm just like, oh, you've seen it. Like,
my people.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like when you quote, I mean, obviously Monty Python's the one everybody goes to, or Austin Powers. But I mean, when something enters the cultural zeitgeist like that, it can just elevate it beyond the movie itself. UHF deserved that. So for Weird Al fans, it is that. All right, Chad, do you want to help me pick a movie for next time before we close out the show?
I would.
All right.
Love to.
Yeah, that's perfect because we hope you can feel the love because it's that Valentine's Day time. So for the ladies, we've got 3 Nicholas Sparks movies for you to choose from.
It's not just for the ladies. So.
Option 1, A Walk to Remember from 2002. 2 North Carolina teens, Landon Carter and Jamie Sullivan, are thrown together after Landon gets in trouble and is sentenced to perform community service. Option 2, The Notebook from 2004. A poor yet passionate young man, Ryan Gosling, falls in love with a rich woman, Rachel McAdams, giving her a sense of freedom, but they are soon separated because of their social differences. And option 3, Nights in Rodanthe from 2008. A doctor who is traveling to see his estranged son sparks with an unhappily married woman at a North Carolina inn.
Gotta go, Mandy Moore. Walk to Remember.
All right. It will be a podcast to remember, I have no doubt.
Oh, can't wait.
All right. And Alex, thank you for coming on for your first time. We really enjoyed it, man.
Guys, I really appreciate you having me on for the show. Good catching back up with both of you. We've known each other for better than 20 years now.
Yes.
And it's good seeing you guys. I hope to be back.
Yeah,
that's right.
Definitely.
And thank you all the lords, ladies, and knights of the Retro Movie Roundtable. We invite you to reach out to us because we want to hear from you. So subscribe, rate to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you get us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a like on Facebook, Instagram. Follow us on Twitter at @movie_retro. Email us at retromovieroundtable@yahoo.com. And support us on our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/Retro Movie Roundtable. All contributions are much appreciated and will go towards making the show better for you, the listeners. As always, thank you for listening. Be good to each other and watch more movies. Chet?
Well, there's 3 of you. You're not exactly alone. Shouldn't you be the 3 Rangers?